question or this topic, excuse me, with what does healing look like to you as an individual? Well, I'll tap into that. Okay, Malika gonna be starting out to okay, y'all here. All right, once again, what does healing look like to you?
Okay, I'll start. That's a question. So to answer this question, I feel like starts with accountability. Accountability definitely starts with accountability. I feel like healing is different for everybody. And I feel like everybody goes through the same process, but in different forms and different times and different everything, because everybody's life is different, of course. So healing to you, for me, may look completely different to healing for you, but you may be in a point of your healing that I haven't reached yet, and vice versa. So I feel like healing is different for everybody. Me personally, going through a healing journey right now, I'm at my isolation stage. Like I haven't been going out. I really don't communicate with a lot of people because I need time to myself. So that's how I'm at right now.
I mean, like, if you would open up the healing part of it, I feel like it's accountability. You have to start with what the problem is. And so whenever you're healing, you have to understand, like, I'm hurt because of what are you hurt from, you know? Let's go back to the last conversation where y'all were talking about, like, me going into a relationship and they don't do the same as women. I mean, that's true. Like, as a woman, you're going into a relationship, like, this man has done, the man before that has done this to me. I mean, the new man hasn't done anything, but the old one did, and that scarred you. Now, as far as the man going into a relationship, and maybe not be thinking about a woman doing the same thing. And so, as a woman going into that relationship, you have to heal, and we can say we're healed, and think we're healed, until you actually do the work to do that.
So,
and as a man, like some men can say they're healed. Like a man can say they're healed and go into a new relationship to think that that's going to heal them. They're not going to do it the same way as a woman. But it's like you can go to that new relationship and not be healed, and then you are now healing, wanting to heal in that relationship, and you should have did that.
In a sense.
So, I had a question, I'm sorry. So, how do you know when you're healed, though? We can say
something no longer triggers you. Like, if you get in a relationship, you like the friend thing. If you can't have a woman friend, that's your problem. Because why should you be able to have male friends but you can't have a woman friend? Because if you trust that person, then that person should be able to have friends. But now if you don't trust them, that's something different.
Those insecurities you gotta deal with on your own.
So, I do appreciate, like, I like the fact that y'all said accountability, taking accountability for healing. So, can someone else hold you accountable for taking accountability for yourself? Like, if someone said, this is, yeah. So how does that work for y'all? Someone say, hey, this is I recognize this in you. How does this work? Like, could you work on this or try to change this?
So back then, when I was in a relationship, I wasn't open to that because I was blind and I didn't know I was insecure. So looking back, him having best friends wasn't the problem. It was me having a problem with myself, and I was insecure with myself of someone who cheated on me. So again, it's a self thing at the end of the day. You should be allowed to do whatever, and still like trust your partner at the end of the day.
So, as far as like what I said about accountability with partners, so Miles, everybody know Miles, this is like one of my best friends. And like, we hold each other accountable for everything in life. And like, early on in our relationship, it was more one-sided. It was always me, like telling him stuff. And he would be like, damn, yo, that's some shit to say. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it come from a good place, you know what I mean? So now he's like, reciprocating that energy, and he's like, I'm gonna my shit too. Like, hey, you really is right when it comes to that. You might think you mean well, but look at it differently.
Yeah, I'm a fucking asshole. I'm not thinking.
So does the way he said it, does it like hurt your feelings and you be like, no, I don't want to do it because you said it mean?
So that was the problem at the beginning of our friendship. I said this weird about that.
Yeah, the delivery.
Pause.
Oh, that's shit.
But no, so I grew up in a household where we talk directly to each other and we're candid. There wasn't no sugarcoating or trying to ease it. So if you get this and that, it's wrong, like straight up, like this is what it is. And I used to deliver it like to him, the information to him like that, like, hey, you go about this all wrong. He wouldn't come to me for advice. He would go to one of our other friends and like get it, because he would get to it in a softer
Because people
manner.
receive things differently. You have to talk to them in different ways.
And I had to learn that myself. So I used to think that was him that had the problem. Like, you can't just take a straight up like message. But really, I had to work on myself too. Like, you know what? I need to change the way I was brought up and the way he was brought up. And that makes what I said or how I was right, you know, vice versa.
Tell you wasn't nothing wrong. It's come from a good place. It was more so some childhood trauma shit. You reminded me of somebody else. So I'll be like, nigga, fuck you. You my nigga, but fuck you.
So, but over time, we developed, like, I kind of toned it down, and he toned it up. So now we have a good balance. I think we got, you know, a spot where my dog would call me and be like, hey, yeah, this situation is down, and like, you was accurate about this, or you ain't having this right, you know, and I was doing that to him as well. So, as a friend, as a guy friend, we go to the counter. I don't know what it's like in the other side of the atmosphere. Ladies,
And your friend, and your friend, I feel like ladies' friends, I feel like what I see sometimes, I see some ladies that hold their friends accountable, and I see some ladies that be like, well, I understand, girl, he tripping. No, she tripping. You need to hold your homegirl accountable. She need to get her feelings together. And even with that, to touch on something before we got, when it comes to men and dealing with certain things, trying to heal, society don't even let us heal, in a sense. They tell us to get over it. That's another subject.
Oh, so I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. So when it comes to healing, I think everybody has their own method, and I just want to say this before we got deeper into the conversation about healing. And what I've learned, because we all go through things. It's not one person on earth in this life that isn't going to go through something that they'll have to heal from. And what I learned with healing, especially dealing with different people, is forgiveness. Forgiveness is the key to get out of that. Now, not only forgiving the people say, oh, don't forgive them, they did this, they did that. It's not for them, it's for you. You forgive them to relieve yourself from the situation that is no longer happening or occurring, and more importantly, the anger. Now, this is the flip side. You have to forgive yourself. I made a mistake. I ran that red light. I have to forgive myself for whatever I've done, and sometimes as easy as it sounds, it's not that easy because you're sitting there living with the situation. You're dealing with the present day. You're like, man, I'm stupid, I'm this, I'm that, whatever society has put on us as far as if we're not living up to certain standards. So I think that forgiveness for other people and more importantly yourself is probably the two places you should start to get into the healing process, because it is a process. And something that may come along, you haven't dealt with it in, say, a year or so, and it, a raindrop or something, or a picture could trigger it, a sound could trigger it. So I think that going in and having just, real genuine forgiveness to the people that may have caused this trauma in your life, and more importantly, forgiving yourself for allowing yourself to go there. I think that was a good step to help you heal yourself.
Because you let them take you there.
I definitely agree with that. And it's great that you said that, because I literally just posted a status yesterday about giving myself grace. Because I'm so hard on myself, and I beat myself up about mistakes that I've made. And yes, we hold ourselves accountable. I hold myself accountable. But I also have to give myself grace, because I'm human. So we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to make mistakes. So it's an ongoing process. So like I said, forgiveness, give yourself grace, and move forward. That's definitely the first step.
So I'd like to ask, what does forgiveness look like to you? Like, what does forgiveness look like to all of y'all? Like, because we can just say, sometimes we be like, oh, I forgive you, but deep down inside, you're like, yeah, or I'm just not gonna be around. But like, do you really forgive? Like, you have no resentment towards that person? Like, what does forgiveness really look like?
That's the key word right there. Like, once you say forgive somebody, you can no longer hold on to it. You have to let it go. You can't say, like, for example, if your guy cheated on you or vice versa, you don't want to cheat on you, and you forget, you say, well, I forgive you, we're going to move past this, and then later on you keep bringing it up, you didn't forgive that person.
Push it to the side.
Yeah, you just push it away for a little bit, and then once they trigger something like, well, you cheated on me, so this is why I did this, that, and the third, that's not forgiveness. If you have to forgive somebody wholeheartedly, you have to let that shit go.
Amen. See, we wasn't agreeing at first. We all know.
I can start. It's cool. So we asking, as far as for me and my opinion, that's for me. I'm gonna be totally wholehearted here. For me, I never forget anything. I don't have a problem forgetting. Forgiving. So I understand and be like, dang, I let you take me there, so that's my fault. I'll acknowledge that because I have a certain barrier for myself to know like, nah, something ain't right here. And usually I don't always go with that first feeling. Now as I'm older, I do.
You really never do.
No, I do. I do now. At one point, I used to hold on to stuff like, nah, I remember what you did.
So can I ask y'all a difficult question? How many of y'all have the courage to forgive your parents for things they've done wrong in your life? Like
I do.
Go up straight to them and say, hey, I forgive you. You messed up on this, this, and this. Have y'all ever done that?
I feel like as a kid, you were so angry at your parents, but as you get older, you realize that they probably didn't know what they were doing either. Like they were trying to figure it out, just like we trying to figure it out. So you gotta be able to give your parents grace. Like if you can't give your parents grace, imagine how your kids gonna feel to know that you was trying to figure it out when you had them, and it's gonna be a vicious cycle that continues to go. So you gotta be willing to give them grace to understand that half the time. Back in the day, these parents were like 16, 17 having kids. So it's babies having babies. So they really don't know what they're doing because they probably didn't have all the full guidance that they probably could have had to be a better person that they are in that, like that time. So I think growing up and knowing that it's okay, they make a mistake, they did not know problem. And we're probably going to make the same mistakes, probably different ways, but we got to be willing to know, like, it's a mistake. And there's no rule book to being an adult, to being a parent. Like, we're just learning. So, yeah.
I feel like parents are they going to be open to us, like, coming to them and like, hey, this bothered me as a kid. So it's up to the parents to receive that information we're giving them and stuff. So,
And that's fine. You shouldn't even because remember when you're going to forgive your parents, and I've forgiven both of my parents, by the way, and they didn't, my mother wasn't very accepting of it, but it's a situation that we work on and we deal with and we live with. So you shouldn't go in and expecting a certain reaction. You got to remember you're going to forgive for you. When it comes to forgiveness, I believe in doing it with your mouth. You go in there, you tell the people that's angry you or hurt you, say, hey, look them in their face or call them on the phone and say, I forgive you, so you can say it with your mouth, because once you say it out loud, now we all know. Now you're going to get held accountable whether you want to get held accountable or not. You bring this back up and you say something about that, we're going to say that, oh, what you said was fake, it wasn't real, and now, you're back in that situation. So that's why forgiveness for me, it looks like going to the person that wronged you and saying, I forgive you. And leave it like that. And what people don't understand about that is it's powerful. I've forgiven people. I've got on the phone and went on a forgiveness marathon, said I'm mad at this person, that person. I just called them and said, hey man, I forgive you. Some people got mad. They were reacting like, hey, what the fuck you mean you forgive me, nigga? I ain't did shit wrong. And it's like, see, that's how you know the guilt inside of you. Now you gotta go and forgive yourself because you did something wrong because they forgive you. You know what I'm saying? So forgiveness is probably just it's probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced, is forgiving people, and what I've learned from it after forgiving so many different people that I felt like wronged me in my life. So that's why I say you go to them and you say this, because pride may not make you want to do it. The barrier, pride is a barrier to, I would say, productive human activity. Because it stops you from doing your pride won't let you go forgive this person because you're so mad, so that relationship goes away, and then they in person, something happened to them, they may end up dying or something, you're like, damn, I regret that. I should have went and forgave him so we could have kept building. But at the same time, it is what it is. Everybody's gonna do what's best for them. But I'm just a person who's strong on forgiving, because it's a very unpopular thing. It's not the best, course of route, train course, whatever you say, course of direction that people like to take. People don't want to forgive, and I understand. I wasn't always the most forgiving person myself, you know what I mean? But I had to grow to a place where I started forgiving people, and I see the results have benefited me greatly.
Yeah, I would like to add to that, to be a little transparent. I forgave my mom when she called me there's some kids in here, she called me a B word, like 6 months, and yeah, she was calling me like, yeah, you mother, blah, 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 you don't know what you're talking about. And then one day she called me, she was crying, she was just like, oh, I understand what you were saying. And she was like, and ever since that day, our relationship changed. We have a different conversation. She respects me differently. But it's just like the fact that I stood up and was like, I forgive you for all the mistakes you made. And I've done that with everybody who I have resentment towards, because like he said, it's for me, it's not for them. A counselor told me that as well. And when she first told me that like some years ago, I was like, oh, whatever. I was like, whatever, you talking about this mumbo jumbo. But when I actually did it and meant it, I've seen results from it. So it's like, I'll say this and that's like, it sounds like it go one ear and out the other, but the results have been proven to me. It's anecdotal, so I can't like prove it on paper, but it's definitely been a fact for me. Yeah.
Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh, this one. All right, yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on forgiveness, man, I asked that question, what does healing look like? Because we're all different people and like our mindsets are different, and like I didn't grow up in the type of family that we went to like counseling or therapists and stuff like that. It was kind of like eat and go to bed type shit, like, you know what I'm saying, get over it. So I asked y'all because like I kind of come to my friends for counsel, you know what I mean, my peers for counsel. So giving that information is really good because I actually had issues with my parents, and forgiveness is something that made me feel so much better about myself in life. I mean, most of y'all people who do know me see me, I'm a very happy person and confident person, but I've dealt with those issues with like family for a long time, especially when I came here to Oklahoma. But like when I finally forgave my folks for like whatever they did or didn't do, it just made me, like, it was like a big burden lifted. Like literally, like I feel lighter, like I feel happier. I'm, you know, more confident about anything and everything I do. So if you're dealing with everything like that, but I do encourage you guys to look for forgiveness and forgive yourself, forgive whoever has done wrongs to you. It's gonna make you feel so much better. I promise it will. I mean, I said it for myself, but I'm pretty sure it'll make you feel so much better. So that's good that y'all said that healing starts with forgiveness.
Y'all want to touch on healing? Y'all got any
Let me get the mic to the ladies in the front.
Hey y'all. Okay, so I agree to what most of y'all said and everything like that. I will say, from my experience, forgiveness sometimes comes from a lack of understanding and a lack of understanding your own emotions and what other people are going through. So sometimes when you like go back and understand the situation, it's not necessarily that you have to forgive somebody. Sometimes you can just say, I understand and I love you. Because sometimes they didn't even do anything wrong. Sometimes there's I don't know, like when we talk about family and parents and things like that, how we said they might not know what they were doing or they would try their best. You didn't know that it would hurt you or that it was traumatic until you got older. But sometimes they didn't necessarily do something to you. Sometimes it is very true, you self-forgive, but sometimes it's like, once you kind of understand the situations and listen to people and realize that, dang, that wasn't what I thought it was. You don't actually have to forgive them, you just have to understand. And that makes sense. And then when it comes to relationships, this is something too that y'all touched on earlier, but I think that we would save ourselves a lot of healing if we would let people go sooner than later. Wow. I think that also the men ain't shit, women ain't shit comes from hurt that we held on to longer than we should have. If you let people go when they show you who they are, when they show you who you are, you won't be so hurt a year or two later. You put yourself through a lot of hurt by not letting people go. Trying to
Alright, we got somebody up here. And DC wants to speak on something.
Alright, so I have 3 things I want to say. Okay, so the first thing, when it comes to forgiveness, you can't speak on it as if you forgive someone one day and then tomorrow you get triggered and you don't have to forgive them tomorrow too, right? So forgiveness is a repetitive thing until you no longer have to consciously forgive them anymore, right? And then once you get to the point where you no longer have to consciously forgive them, then you've really forgiven them. But forgiving someone is a process. It's not like something you do one time. And that's what like a lot of people aren't acknowledging, right? Okay, so then part 2. You don't have to include someone else in your forgiveness, right? So that a lot of people, they think she stepped on my foot, I forgive you. Like, no, she can still step on people's feet and you can still forgive her and then you can still maneuver around peacefully in the midst of her stepping on people's feet because they don't got nothing to do with you anymore because now you have forgiven them. You feel me? Okay, and then part 3. So
let's swap what she said. She said something about relationships. Okay, so everybody ain't a fuck nigga and no, you and every female is not a F female, alright? So then what does that leave you with? Compatibility, right? So I can't come up in here and ask them for a whole
Talk that shit, girl. It's okay.
no, but I can't come up in here and ask them for what is it, like crab legs and stuff like that, because they don't serve that here. And they're not willing to serve that here. And it don't make it a shitty place because they're not willing to serve it here. That's just not what they do here. You know what I'm saying? So, if someone's not willing to do what you want them to do, it don't make them a fuck person. You move around and you find who's compatible with you, right? Alright, so that's like, it's dissecting that and seeing, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is what they're willing to do. This is what I need to do to move around it now. And you don't have to tear them apart and you ain't gonna find somebody. No. You move around and you do what you gotta do, and they can be amazing at making salads, but you don't like salads, so you go to a burger joint and do what you gotta do. You feel me?
Hey, Quisha, I think you spoke on something called boundaries. People don't like boundaries, so that's what it is.
And people don't know how to set boundaries as well. That's one thing that I'm working on, is setting boundaries.
You can say you have boundaries, you can also cross them. You hear people that think you're not and you set them.
So, during the intermission, we got a couple topics from the audience. Quisha had the pleasure of going ahead and selecting this one randomly. So this topic is, why do men listen to a woman when it's too late? Why do men listen to a woman when it's too late?
We don't let the men talk about it.
I think that's one of those questions where it's almost on a personal thing, but at the same time, if I had to answer, why do people do things when it's too late? I think no. We have to, because if it's not just men that do things when it's too late. It's not just men that do things when it's too late. So we have to look at the situation and analyze the person and ask that person, why does that person do things when it's too late? Because I can guarantee you, in a relationship, especially if you've been in a relationship for a while, if they've done things too late one time, they've done it 3 times and 5 times, 7 times and 10. So it's not the first time, it's just, the multiple times. So we need to ask, why is that? What's up with this person?
And I would like to ask, why, hold on, ask that question one more time so I can properly respond.
Why do men
listen to women?
Why do men listen to women too late? That's very broad and subjective. But I would like to ask, why do women not listen to men and follow their lead?
And I would like to ask why y'all.
See, she gonna let me talk. We just on the same page. We just on the same page. She didn't let me finish. She was ready. She's ready for whatever I said. Well, she a trigger. She knew that she wasn't ready to agree. And that's okay. So I'm asking, so that's a broad question, so I truly don't understand it when you say we don't listen to women until it's too late. Listen about what? Like, listen about what?
Alright, so I understand the question. It's a poorly asked question, but that goes into, like, my response. So, I have done that. I have been a person. I'm not an habitual person, disclaimer. I'm not a person who do it regularly, but I have, like, realized, like, oh shit, this is what she was trying to say, and like, okay, let me fix it. But it was like, oh, she's off the double type shit.
So did she not
the reason why is it was poorly stated, like what you want. Like you wanted me to, my situation, the woman wanted me to read her feelings and emotions instead of telling me like explicitly what she needed from me. And it's like, it just took me a while to understand her. We're not wired the same, operate on the same frequency. So I just didn't get it till then.
Amen.
Late,
So
like, yeah.
I know what you're saying now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't operate off of it's hard for me to read feelings and like like, ooh, you feeling this way? Let me go and meet you there. Like, I don't understand that. I need you to be very straightforward with me.
Go buy a flower shop. Oh, it's beautiful flowers. Like, you're telling me, hey, I want you to some flowers.
Yeah,
like, nah.
I don't understand that language.
Nice. All right, let's go.
Yeah, I truly don't, like, I don't understand though. I can't read into that stuff. I need somebody to be direct and straight up forward. I truly don't know what that is. I know women, y'all can communicate with each other, y'all can look at each other. And like, she looking at them, she like, they're like, yeah. And I know they talking something, I don't know what it is. But like, me and my we can look at each other, they're like, you know, what you... Yeah, like, I don't know.
Hey, get looking. Hey, bro, you ready to go? Like, we need to, like, for real.
You be a sign, like.
Yeah, like, ew, it's time to go. Wrap it up.
I need something more like observant, like something
So,
more
Let me ask this. So it sounds like it's a communication barrier. What do y'all think that is?
It is definitely.
What creates the communication barriers between men and women? If you ask me, I'm gonna say the media and their false narratives. I love the media. I love everything and everybody, but it's obvious the media puts things out to split people apart for some specific reason. I would say to make money, and they do a good job of it. But at the same time, you know, a lot of people get their ideas in the way they see their life or what they see on social media and the general media and whatever they see on TV.
Podcast.
Podcast.
So, for me, my experiences in the past with it, the piggyback off of what these gentlemen said and articulated correctly. For me, I'm a straightforward person. If you going to send hints, I'm going to look at you and be like, oh, okay, that's great. What do you want? Tell me what you want. I'm not going to do a mind reading game with you. I'm not doing any of that with you. Tell me what you want. And then you get upset when you decide to say, well, you couldn't read me. Why didn't you tell me what you want? A lot of women don't tell you what you want. They want you to guess. Now, I'm not sending no shot to you. Being real. Being real.
How can we communicate in a relationship if we didn't even be able to express our feelings to some of our parents?
You don't need to be in a relationship then.
You don't know that? You don't know that? You don't know that? How can we?
Or be open to receive. How can I learn how to do that?
You're not gonna learn until you put in that situation. Like, okay, well, how can I do this?
Well, some people won't accept that.
But no, but you said like you can't get a relationship.
We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's one thing of not being accepted, and it's one thing of not knowing how to do it. You can't say you can't be in a relationship because you don't know how to communicate. If a person never knew how to communicate and it was never brought to him that they don't know how to communicate, you can't be like, you can be in a relationship. I don't know.
Let me correct you. If you're not willing to accept what's been...
Switch the mic.
You can't accept when somebody's saying, hey, we need to work on this communication issue. Notice you had your voice, that you had some communication issues because of how you grew up. If you're not willing to accept that, don't be in a relationship.